Good evening. It's Lynette again, your transformational life coach, and I am going to talk tonight about beliefs. And this is really a part two of the first video. So if you haven't seen the first video, go back on my page and check that one out. But I will do a small recap. So last week, what we talked about was the importance of beliefs, the importance of identifying negative beliefs, whether they were from a negative experience or if they were beliefs that were implemented or given to you by others. So, really analyzing and assessing the beliefs that are controlling our life. So, this week, I definitely want to talk about beliefs more in depth. Everyone wants to live their best life. And a lot of times, what I find in working with women is that women focus a lot on the exterior, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be beautiful or wanting to be stylish. But what I have found is that a lot of hurt women focus on the exterior because they're afraid of the past, or they're afraid to talk about it, or they don't want to talk about it. So they do a lot of focus on, you know, their hair or beautification. And like I said, all of those things are okay and they're perfectly fine. But what I encourage you to do, for those who are listening and for those who have deep rooted pain, I encourage you to get vulnerable. When you are vulnerable with yourself and when you are real, raw, and honest with yourself, and you go back into the past where your pain lies, you will find strength. And that's where your courage lies. That's where your beautiful warrior is. You will find your purpose, and you'll be able to truly heal and transform your life. And that's really the best type of transformation. The exterior is one level of, feeling good, but the best feeling you'll ever have is when you are healed. And healed not only from the past, but when you're able to share that healing with others. That's one of the best feelings ever. So as you go forward and challenge your beliefs and look within, again, focus on the things that matter. A lot of times, days go by, weeks go by, and we're cognizant of so many things, but we're not taking the time necessary to really be still and look within and challenge our thoughts and go back to those uncomfortable places and really create the healing that we desire and that we desperately need. This week I was actually talking to a young lady, and she was feeling stuck, and we processed that feeling for her, and it was due to a past relationship which she separated from, but the belief system was there, that negative belief system was still alive and well. So even though the relationship was severed, the belief system was still operating. So a lot of times when women have experienced trauma like myself, we experience something, that experience comes to an end, but we're left with the residue of the experience, whether we're left with the residue of the emotions or we're left with the residue of the beliefs, the memories, the triggers. Like, we're left with the trauma of what happened, even though that thing is no longer happening to us. So in this situation, she was stuck between moving on, and she was stuck between the past relationship. And in processing, one belief that we identified that was still true was, it's not over. So even though they moved on, in her mind, the relationship was not over because she wasn't willing to let go of the belief that she once had, that this is my forever. And that in itself is eye-opening, and I hope that me sharing that helps someone else, because those underlying unconscious beliefs that we need to process and even reprocess sometimes are what keeps people stuck and what keeps people in cycles of negative relationships and keeps people in cycles of depression and cycles of negative self-identification. And in this particular example, we had to create a new belief. And she had no idea that that was the belief that was still driving some of her destructive behaviors. What I wanted to read to you tonight is out of my first book, Metaphors for Healing, Rebuilding, and Transforming Your Life. And I thought this was applicable. So here we go. This segment is called What's Eating You Alive? I remember my first time seeing an open, deep wound, bed sore, or pressure sore. It appeared like a slightly deeper scrape of the skin, the first layer completely gone. My stomach dropped at the sight, and my blood tingled as I thought of the pain it must have caused. I began asking questions about these wounds and found that people who are limited in their ability to move or change positions are most likely to develop these sores. How ironic that the comfort of a familiar position can cause limited blood flow to the skin and tissues while pressuring the area, causing damage and eventually deterioration of that area. What area of your life has been immobile? What area of your life are you afraid to change? Your finances, it could be your career, physical location, relationships, forgiveness, bitterness. Let me add that when I observed the sore a few months later, I was astonished at how deep it grew because it was not taken care of properly. The wound went from a surface scrape to the depth of half a banana and the width of one as well. You do not want to ignore this analogy, as it may be the last warning you receive. Are you going to ignore whatever it is in your life God is trying to bring to your awareness for your protection? For some, it may be ignoring God's prompt to leave a relationship with a man that intends to kill you. It could be separating from a friendship that was intended to be a distraction, or introduce you to drugs to steer you away from God's blessings for your life. Whatever it may be, pay attention and acknowledge God's confirmation when He gives it. Everything on the outside looks really comfortable, but is your comfort the cause of your wounds? The best thing about this analogy is the healing process. The process of healing first involves repositioning. In order to heal, you must reposition yourself. Your thoughts have to be directed differently, as do your actions that follow. Secondly, a deep wound must be cleaned and filled with medicine and salt to ensure healing. How awesome is it that the blood of Jesus cleanses us from all sins and from ourselves? The only way for you to heal is through Him. You may be able to reposition yourself, but without healing, your repositioning may only result in a new wound, and the old wound will still be there left without proper care. Allow God to position you from wherever you are to grace, and with grace to healing. That's my baby. So I hope that encourages you to go deep with yourself, be vulnerable, have the courage to address those painful, dark moments, find purpose, and be real with yourself so that you can, number one, be free and gain freedom and healing, and not just like surface level healing. I'm talking about like deep healing. like deep healing. So you can really, really, really experience freedom inward and have that inner transformation that you desire. So I hope that was encouraging. Thank you for listening.